Morning, everybody. I'm James Williams, and I'm the president of the Atlanta North Georgia Labor Council. And we're here with state representatives, state senators. We've got unemployed workers, and we've also got members of our coalition out here protesting against the Georgia Department of Labor, specifically the Office of Unemployment. The main reason that we're here right now is that Mark Butler, along with Governor Brian Kemp, have signed documents that are going to strip the federal unemployment benefits out of the state of Georgia, which is going to take $300 per week out of the pockets of folks that are already struggling to get by. Right now, Georgia pays $365 a week for unemployment if you qualify for it. And that isn't enough to pay for groceries, that's not enough to pay for child care, it's not enough to pay rent, it's not enough to pay your mortgage. So Georgians are going to start losing their houses. They're already having a hard time trying to get good paying jobs in Georgia, and the Department of Labor is expecting poor Georgians to get back to work when their offices are barricaded right now. There's nobody in there other than a security guard. So how are you expecting us to go back to work when you ain't even at work? At some point last year, there was over 60,000 unemployment claims that were so screwed up that they had to go through them by hand. We still have folks in Georgia that haven't received their unemployment benefits that they filed for over a year ago. So they need to get back to work, they need to fix the system, and we need to change it and start accepting the federal unemployment benefits, bringing that back down to Georgia. And so with that, I'm going to introduce our Executive Director, Sandra Williams.
Good morning, and thank you for being here. Today we're here to lift up the voices of workers that are unemployed through no fault of their own, through the pandemic. We're here to demand that Governor Kemp restore the pandemic unemployment assistance that he has promised to take away in June. We can no longer stand by and allow this type of treatment to continue to Georgians of all races, creeds, and colors, but predominantly African Americans, who have a 71% higher rate of unemployment than do our white counterparts. We also know that women represent 2% more, the people that have not gone back to work and that are underemployed because they care for their children. So while the doors of the DOL are shut and there is no one to be a resource to workers, we're being coerced to go back to work for low wages. Now I'm going to show you there's a pattern here. There's a pattern that goes on with our Republican counterparts because we have been fighting corporate immunity. Many of the workers that we're talking about right now are service or hospitality employees that are essential workers that have to be at the front line and that are exposed to pandemic. The second thing, corporate immunity, there is no immunity for corporations unless there is a gross neglect in making sure that that environment is safe. So you want people to go back. The state of Georgia has a minimum wage of $5.15. You also have a federal minimum wage of $7.35. People cannot raise a family. That is not a working, living wage. So you want women to leave their children at home. You want fathers to leave their children at home. And that's why I say coerced. We haven't seen this type of treatment since the days of sharecropping, slavery, because that's what it amounts to. The other thing I need to remind folks of is this is all part and parcel of taking away the rights to vote. We know that the legislation that we've seen come out of that Gold Dome has been aimed and targeted specifically at low-income working families and people of color, and it must stop. Governor Kemp announced last night that he is going to run for re-election, and we say no. We cannot survive 4 more years of this type of treatment. We just can't. So that's why we're out here to speak up. And that's the next person I want you to hear from is Marcellus Rowe. He's experienced unemployment. Marcellus, would you join us here and tell your story? Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Marcellus Rowe. I'm here today to talk about how the termination of federal unemployment benefits has a direct effect on Georgians, including myself. Let me start off by saying, Brian Kemp and Mark Butler, the decision you all made collectively to terminate benefits are going to cause numerous evictions, starvation, depression, in other words, extreme hardships to Georgia families. We are having a hard time finding suitable work because a lot of businesses are offering slave wages, including the small businesses that Brian Kemp spoke about. Yes, some of us know the Georgia Employment Security Law, and refusing significantly less pay than previous employment is legally allowed. Yes, there were people making greater than $15 to $20 an hour before they became unemployed, but now our governor wants unemployed Georgians to turn to small businesses, including restaurants, so that we can make minimum wage or less than our previous salary, keeping us in a depressed state of mind so they can look good for the public. Pay Brian Kemp and Mark Butler minimum wage and see if they continue their public employment. Mark Butler showed us how many claimants were denied benefits and had to appeal and won their appeal because the Georgia Department of Labor are wrongfully denying claimants. I know because I am one of them. I am what this generation calls receipts. We are tired and frustrated, and as a black man, begging and pleading are no longer options. We are demanding that you all be held accountable for the pain and suffering of unemployed Georgians. So in closing, Mark Butler and Brian Kemp, right now you work for us. Come election day, get ready to stand in the unemployment line. That will render because of your decision to terminate federal benefits. And I want to say we need to have boots on the ground. This is wrong.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear briefly from Sean Smith from Black Push.
So Black Push stands with everybody here who are fighting for unemployment. You know, I was thinking about this morning, like, we have a quote here in America, we say this is a government for the people, by the people. The government has to get back to being for the people. This is not for the people. When I come from an industry where I work in a restaurant, but we had employees who, during the height of the crisis, literally was making $7.25 an hour, catching the bus, walking to work, to make sure that they were serving the community. And most of those employees got laid off because we had to cut back on people. And now you're telling those same people who probably don't even get the max benefit, which is $365 a week, that now they can't even get the $100 or the $55 they get a week, plus minus and that $200. We have to get back. And Governor Kemp, Mark Butler should be ashamed of themselves because they're taking the power from the people. They're robbing people of being able to put food on their tables, robbing people of being able to pay their rent. We stand with everybody here who is with us today, and we appreciate Dr.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm State Representative Kim Schofield, representing District 60, parts of Fulton, Clayton, in the city of Atlanta. For over a year, the Commissioner of Labor, Mark Butler, has kept the doors of the Georgia Department of Labor offices across this state blocked.
Yes, ma'am.
Several coalitions and my colleagues have been on the forefront helping Georgians to try to resolve these issues who've lost their jobs through no fault of their own and have not been able to get their benefits, their appeals, even so much as reset a PIN. And the call center, which they claim is open and active, is less than effective. And so we've received no resources, no response from either Mark Butler or Governor Brian Kemp. These claims are still pending, and many of the people are still have no resolve. More disturbingly is that Governor Brian Kemp had the executive power to step in and to demand the Georgia Department of Labor open its doors, and he did nothing, and still does nothing. He has the power to hold the Georgia Department of Labor accountable and address the dereliction of duties as well as the fraud that has compromised Georgians. We all know that this system is broken and needs transparency through the advisory council, and we need new leadership both at the Georgia Department of Labor and for this state. Somebody please explain how the Department of Driver Services doors and the schools are open, yet these doors are still locked. The largest employment engine remains closed. Even we at the Georgia General Assembly went back to work with our masks on. So something should be done. Governor Kemp, you are intentionally crushing families, especially black, brown, people of color, low-wage, underskilled, underpaid workers, and gig workers in the midst of a pandemic. By removing Georgia's unemployment safety net, it further stresses Georgians who've lost their jobs through no fault of their own. And this level of intentional hypocrisy is disgusting and shameful. I ask you, Governor Kemp, and Mark Butler, when will the Georgia Department of Labor doors be open and serve the people? If you want people to go to work and want them to be able to look for work, open the door.
Yes, yes.
Let me be clear. A locked door comes from a locked ear and a locked heart. Governor Kemp, we need these doors open. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm State Representative Sandra G. Scott, and I serve District 76 out of Clayton and Henry County. Mr. Kemp, I want and I need for you to hear me this morning. I ask that you find a place in your heart to have compassion, to care about all the citizens of Georgia who have lost loved ones, lost their homes, cars, and their way of life because they are still waiting for unemployment. I ask that you think of these women as being your daughters. We are deeply concerned that you want to opt out of the federal funding prior to opening government agencies such as the Department of Labor. We are also concerned that the state would end these additional benefits without providing additional help with child care, especially for essential workers. People should not have to work 2 or 3 jobs to pay rent and make ends meet. So I'm asking you today to raise the minimum wage to $15 per hour. And that is not even livable wage here in the state of Georgia. You need at least $26 an hour to have a livable wage. So we're asking you to raise the minimum wage to at least $15 an hour, where people will be able to not work 2 or 3 jobs, but may be able to work 1 job. We are also asking that you open up the doors to the Department of Labor. You have opened up the states. You demanded that schools reopen and that teachers go back to work and parents send their children to school during a pandemic. But the doors of the Department of Labor are still closed. We ask you, Governor Kemp, to have a heart, to have compassion for people, and do the right thing. Do the right thing. Demand that Mark Butler open up the Department of Labor doors. I ask myself daily, how can they sleep? Do you hear the cries of the people? Have you heard the cries of the people that are calling to your office as well as to our offices daily, asking about their unemployment benefits? We need the people to be paid their unemployment benefits. So we need the Department of the Labor doors open today. We can no longer sit still. Open up the doors to the Department of Labor and get the people paid.
Good morning, and thank you all, organizers and everyone who is here today. As chair, my name is Tanya Anderson. My name is Tanya Anderson, and I am chair of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, which represents 68 members in the House and Senate chambers from across the state, and we are proud to stand in solidarity with our friends and allies on behalf of the workers of Georgia. This building we are congregating in front of is supposed to represent a resource for workers who have fallen upon hard times and are looking for assistance to get back on their feet. It seems the governor and labor commissioner have forgotten why the Department of Labor exists. It is not to demean or disrespect Georgians, nor is it to condemn or punish. This agency provides hardworking people a lifeline to regain their dignity and provide for their families. To cancel the $300 payment for unemployed workers is not the leadership we need at this time, and now is the time to support our state workers, not hurt them. The Georgia worker builds, designs, transports, cleans, cooks, educates, organizes, repairs, stocks, protects, serves, and saves lives. Instead of learning why workers are not returning, our governor and labor commissioner decide to take punitive measures to hurt members of the Georgia's workforce. There is no consideration about child care challenges many of our workers face, particularly when many school-aged children are still at home. There is no discussion about fear workers may have at returning to the workplace and facing the possibility of contracting a variant of COVID-19. There is no debate on how we can provide workers additional training for emerging sectors with high salaries. And there is absolute silence on offering all of our workers a living wage of at least $15 per hour. But what we do hear from our leaders are blame, false assumptions, and downright disrespect. So today, just like we have in the past, we'll do so in the future. The Georgia Legislative Black Caucus is committed to ensuring all workers receive the respect and compensation they deserve. Georgia will never progress if our workers are not prioritized. Georgia can never move forward if it leaves its workers behind. We strongly oppose the current proposition by the governor and labor commissioner, and we ask that you put the people before politics and profit, because without the people, Georgia will never profit.
Hello, my name is Amanda Shorts, and I'm unemployed, and the unemployment was a safety net for people like us, and we shouldn't be ashamed. We didn't cause the global pandemic. We have not been fully vaccinated in Georgia to the amount that the national average has been fully vaccinated. My husband is high risk, and he goes to work every day, and even when there was no vaccine, and we bought a house together for 2 incomes. Now we have 1 income, and everything's on hand to pay all our bills. So it's not a lot to ask to get a small payment that's temporary, even though the pandemic is not temporary because there's a variant that is now global. So I think we need to change the narrative that we don't want those poverty jobs. If there's a lot of poverty jobs that employees can't get rid of, then maybe you need to reevaluate the pay that you're paying these people. And, you know, we're already victimized. We don't need to be victimized anymore. So, thank you.
Our Financial Empowerment Center has served over 1,000 families, helping them apply for unemployment benefits and access emergency financial assistance. Many because they have not received 1 dime of their unemployment compensation, or because the delays were so great, they were now months and months behind in their rent and utilities. Our work, along with so many others here today, has been to keep Georgia families safe, secure, and in their homes. Unfortunately, many cannot return to work because they have young children. Schools are about to close for the summer, making even fewer options available. The federal unemployment resources are already authorized through September. That would give families time to get their children settled in school again. Prayerfully, schools will fully open and offer what they normally do, which is preschool care and after-school care, which is required in order to get your children to school, get to work, get back to secure them safely. So by September, parents will be able to go back to work. This is not the time for Governor Kemp to take away benefits from families. Unemployment has already been extended, and all we have to do is continue those payments. To take these modest resources away from families now is nothing less than just inhumane. It is literally inhumane. And while it might be true that some low-wage jobs pay even less than the benefits, that fact alone should have all of us marching in the streets demanding the $15 minimum wage for our people. And that will only help them stave off poverty. As mentioned previously, the living wage is actually $28 an hour in Fulton County. These are men and women who are eager to return to work. They're eager to get additional skills so they can support their families. These families are Georgians. They are Georgians, and we are all citizens of this state. The governor represents all of us, and we call on him to protect the citizens that he was elected to serve. This will avoid a wave of homelessness and pain that is unnecessary, and it will help people get back to work without leaving their young children home alone, which is the only way they can return to work now. Thank you so much. We need you to stand up and do what's right for the citizens of Georgia. We can't be number one for business and yet not be number one for the citizens of this state, the workers of this state, and the children of this state. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Helen Butler, Executive Director of the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda. And we were founded by the late Dr. Joseph Lowery. I tell you, this is a moral issue. You've heard every reason why we should continue to have unemployment benefits through September. I'm not going to be redundant. All I can say is Governor Kemp, Mark Butler, you want people to vote for you, but what are you standing for? Question number one, you want to run for re-election. You say that you're a Christian. Well, the Bible, my Bible says that you should take care of the least of these. So are you doing that, Governor? I don't think so. You asked for my vote. Why should I give you my vote? You've done everything to make sure that I'm not able to exercise that right to vote. You're making sure that people are not able to support themselves. They're not asking for a handout. They're just asking for what belongs to them. This money is their tax dollars, not yours. So what we're saying to you, Governor, is do the right thing right now. Extend those benefits as outlined in the rescue plan. I got a call last night from a lady seeking help, head of a household, needing help with rent, with utilities, with food. This is not the way Georgia should operate. So, Governor, if you want the vote of all Georgians, you've got to do the right thing. Mark Butler, as I say, and you are my employee, right? Well, guess what? You are definitely fired. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Richard Rose, President of the Atlanta NAACP. In denying federally funded unemployment benefits to some of Georgia's most vulnerable workers, the governor continues his campaign of cruelty. As Secretary of State, he made a career out of voter suppression, voter purges, and other schemes to deny black and brown people the right to vote. That's right. His gubernatorial campaign showed him pointing a gun at a teenager.
Yes.
So we should have known that this governor does not care about people.
Yes.
He could have pushed for an increase of Georgia's minimum wage.
Amen.
He could have, but what he did was relax restrictions so businesses could open during the coronavirus pandemic.
1 in 10 Georgians were infected by the COVID-19 virus. And almost 2% death rate. Despite this mounting evidence, Governor Cruel claimed that Georgia should go back to work.
Cruel. All right.
And last year, Governor Cruel
Yes.
cut over $1 billion from education that hurt black and brown and poor people the most. He seems fixated on pleasing only his campaign contributors, while he finds ways to be politically cruel and unconcerned about the children or the workers he is denying the extra benefits to. Children who are out of school, small children whose parents cannot afford child care. We call on Governor Cruel to care more about Georgians than campaign contributors, to care about the health and well-being of the least, the lost, and the left behind. Governor Cruel claims Christianity. He ought to practice it.
Yes.
Governor Kemp, please end your campaign of cruelty.
Hi, my name is Eric Brundage. I'm here today because I can't get in touch with anyone. I can't resell the pen. And it's hard to get a job out here. I really can't work. I'm on crutches, and I appreciate the support of everybody out here. And I hope that they'll do something about this very soon. Thank you.
All right.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Representative Dawn McLeod, and I want to echo some of the sentiments of my colleagues. One of the things I wrote recently was that finally the #1 state to do business realized that they need employees. And I want to make sure that people understand the minimum wage in Georgia is $5.15. That means legally anyone in the state of Georgia as an employer can pay somebody that amount. So let's not get confused about what the minimum wage is. This governor and this commissioner are both derelict in their duties. We have pushed, we have stood and tried to help out the Department of Labor to make sure that our constituents, because we stand with our constituents, we're not standing on the side of someone who's not in care of our constituents. We stand on the side of our constituents, and I declare that these two men are derelict in duties, and they need to be fired next year. There should never be a governor that cares more about business than it cares about the people they serve. And this is where we stand. All of us as legislators, we stand with all the Democratic legislators, stand with our people that we serve to make sure that they get the things that they need. And again, $5.15 is the minimum wage in the state of Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you all. I am State Representative Dewey McLean. I'm also the author of HB 116, which is the $15 minimum wage.
Yes.
It's not the first time that I've introduced that bill. This is my 5th term introducing that bill. You know, we can't even get the conversation. Again, it goes back to when we started this. When we started this, I'll never forget when we became the #1 state to do business. You know what the governor then said? You know why we're the #1 state to do business? We're the #1 state to do business because he accidentally slipped and said, I guess because we got cheap labor. Mike, can you believe that you would have a governor that would accidentally say that we had cheap labor? I say to you all is, we got to make sure you got to have livable wage. What kind of jobs do we have? Who's complaining about not having work? Is it high-paying jobs, paying $15, $20 an hour, $25 an hour? No, they're not. There are jobs that are paying $5, $15 an hour. There are jobs in the poultry. There are jobs out there picking grapes and picking fruit. There's nothing wrong with those jobs, but pay them money. You know, I heard a colleague say we had a gas shortage and the price went up. We got an employment shortage, the price should go up. But we're not. I say to you all, my only concern right now is we've got these doors locked, and I want everybody to join me because we need him to hear us. We need the governor to hear us. We need Mark Butler to hear us. Open up these doors. 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 You understand what I'm saying? These doors are locked, but you want our schools open. You want the state open, but you want to keep the Department of Labor closed.
Department of Labor.
This is the Department of Labor.
Department of Labor.
And it's closed. We need to open up these doors. Thank you all.
Good morning. Come here, Tanya Graham. This is our sister, Tanya Graham. She's been trying to get in these doors. I'm Reverend Shannon Jones, president of Concerned Black Clergy. And I'm so pleased to join this august coalition. Let me tell you something, Tanya. It's not that you did not have the right key. It's not that you did not have the right tools. The great Houdini himself could not get in those locked doors.
All right.
You know, the governor says that he reads the Bible. But I think he reads too much in the Bible about Pontius Pilate.
All right.
Instead of reading about Jesus.
All right.
He reads too much about the great Pharaoh.
All right.
Instead of reading about Moses. I've got news for you, Governor.
All right.
You are not a Pharaoh.
All right.
You are a governor.
Yes.
I got news for you, Commissioner Mark Butler. You are not a Pharaoh. You are a governor. Pharaohs are dictators. Governors are elected.
That's right.
Pharaohs are dictators.
Yes.
Commissioners are elected.
Yes.
You are spending your time trying to lock doors and lock people out of being able to have what is theirs. That is what a dictator does. That is what a Pharaoh does. You have told Georgians that we need to revitalize this state. You said it's time for us to get back to work. You said to Tanya Graham, Tanya, you need to get back to work. But you're trying to make Tanya to make bricks without straw. And you cannot make bricks without straw. If you want Tanya to revitalize this state, if you want Tanya to get back to work, then you need to open up the appropriations and allow the $300 to come down. If you want Tanya to get back to work, then open up these dag-blanket doors and allow her to go in and get what it is that is rightfully hers.
Come
on, Prophet. Kemp Schofield was right. Locked doors come from locked hearts. Kemp Schofield was right. Locked doors speak to locked hearts and locked minds and locked eyes and locked ears. And when the people are driving by saying, open up the doors, you're not listening to them. When the people are reaching out their hands saying, I'm losing my home and I'm gaining a tent, you're not seeing them. Your heart is locked, and that's what pharaohs do. Pharaohs lock people up, chain them up, enslave them, stop them from being able to go forward with time. We're going to get these doors open. Because Governor Kemp, you need to sit down with this coalition. Because there is something on the line that is greater than your re-election.
All right.
It is your salvation.
Yes.
We're telling you right now that we will not stand for what you are doing to the Tanya Grahams of Georgia. We're telling you right now that you are going to have to open up these doors and let Georgia workers inside. Chain doors. Chain hearts. Chain doors. Chain hearts. Say it with me. Chain doors. Chain hearts. Say it with me. Chain doors. Chain hearts. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you.
Shame on you.
Governor Kemp.
Yes.
Thank you all for coming together with us. And as a representative and a labor activist, I compel you to know the PRO Act is here. We have an opportunity to protect the right to organize. We must insist with our Congress people that we get that law passed, especially in a right to work state where we now know that there is no care for workers. Thank you for being here today. Are there any questions?
What's your reaction to Governor Kemp when he says this money is just a handout?
Well, you know, that goes back to what you've heard several people say today. It is not a handout, but indifference is something that we have definitely seen from this governor and this administration and the GOP under the Gold Dome. Indifference is one of the worst things that you will ever see. He is not in the shoes of the people that are unemployed and that you heard today. So to him, we say, work with us, not against us, because you represent all.
And it's our tax dollars.
Thank you. Thank you.
The money that is being given out is our tax dollars that we contribute. So that we should get back. When we're working, we're putting money in the pot. So it's our tax dollars.